Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be speaking at a TED Talk. I didn't think I'd have this opportunity, but once again, thank you to everyone for giving me the opportunity. I want to start off by everyone asking themselves one quick question. How can I change the world? It's something that I think a lot of people at least cross their minds at one point in their life. It was a question that really was repeating itself with me when I was a high school student. When I was in high school, I played guitar in a band, had the long hair. It was a hard rock band, the whole 9 yards. So it was one of my passions, but I was always at the same time very politically engaged. As mentioned, my father was a political refugee from Chile. He came to Canada in the 70s, and his personal experiences really taught me to always look at things with a critical perspective, but most importantly, with an open mind. And so I took a year off after high school, and I started thinking, what is it that I want to do? Music was a big passion, but I felt that that wasn't it. I found that my curiosity was more, how can we address the social inequalities that are prevalent in our society? In a country such as Canada, where there's so much wealth, why is there so much social inequality? Just something that I couldn't really come around. And so I found that this was something that was really bothering me. I really wanted to get to the core of it. And when I was preparing for this presentation, I came across a pretty interesting slide. Picture. So you can see here, 10 amazing life lessons you can learn from Albert Einstein. I want to focus on 3 of them. Number 1, number 5, and number 9. Follow your curiosity, make mistakes, and knowledge comes from experience. When I started thinking about attending university, I realized, I'm going to go because it's a curiosity of mine to really pursue a passion. Why is it that this is really eating me apart of why is there so much social inequality? What can I do? How can I change the world? And when I was talking to a couple of friends and parents, they were saying, you know what, university might be the place for you. University campuses before were known as being scary places, right? Where people get together, they philosophize about revolutionary ideas, changing society. And so I thought, you know what, this might be my niche. And when I came to McMaster, I immediately just began becoming very politically active. I was always having debates with colleagues and peers. And one thing I noticed, though, was that I really couldn't find my niche. I couldn't find exactly a club or society that was really what I was looking for. It didn't appeal or accommodate to my unique creative expressions of what I wanted to do. And this is one important element that I found in my experience that I think is crucial when we talk about youth engagement and getting them to pursue their passions. And that is, young people have to have complete ownership of what they want to do. I took the initiative to go to university. I took the initiative to actually go about and pursue my passions. And what I started doing was taking upon projects that I felt would accommodate how I wanted to do things, and I would have ownership of that. And so I'm going to share with you 3 examples. The first one was being a political science and labor studies student. I decided to become very active whenever there was labor disputes that occurred on campus. I felt it was something that was naturally going to complement my academic career, but at the same time, I realized I can take something out of the theoretical component of class and apply it to a real-life situation. I had meetings with senior administrators at the university. I sat in with a union to talk about different perspectives, and it really broadened my holistic approach of what it is that I'm learning and how can I apply it in a practical sense. At the same time, I began interacting a lot with students. And I found out, and I've been guilty of this, of thinking that young people are apathetic in society. But I truly believe that's not the case. I think young people are extremely eager about bringing change into societies, but once again, they need to find the proper channels in order for them to express their creative ideas and what they want to pursue. My second powerful experience was when I decided to actually launch an education program with a colleague with agricultural migrant workers in the Niagara region. It was something that a colleague of mine asked me if I wanted to join with, and I said, you know what, this will complement my academic studies, and I think I'll learn from it. Will there be mistakes? Maybe. But once again, I was curious, and I felt that through this curiosity, I'll have a lot of awesome learning experiences. And third, one of the most important things that I think was really fundamental in my university career was going outside into the community. And I started doing this in my later years, but I sat in a community meeting in the East End Hamilton. And in this community hub meeting, there was a young girl, a 10-year-old girl who was going to present. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be cute. A little 10-year-old girl, I'll like to hear what she has to say. But to be honest with you, I thought, being a university student, I don't think I'm going to learn anything from her, right? She's a 10-year-old girl. Ladies and gentlemen, this girl astonished everyone in that room. She gave a speech talking about the importance of having a youth subcommittee in their community, the importance of a community garden, and garnishing a collaborative approach for community and immigrants to learn how to grow food sustainably in their communities. And she delivered a speech that just left everyone with their jaw dropped. And this showed me that young people, regardless of their age, have the capacity to actually change things. They understand their circumstances, and they know solutions, and they can defend themselves. And so I thought, how can I take all these experiences and put them together? How can I take what I've learned and share that with my peers? And so, to touch upon the 3 basic things that I've already mentioned, young people are not apathetic. We just need to change the channels that are available to them. At the same time, establishing dialogue with populations and society will enhance our critical perspective of things. It'll broaden our way of thinking. And most importantly, once again, young people have the capacity and capability to foster fundamental changes in society. But what are the barriers that exist? There's a culture of ageism, right? And I was guilty of this in that community meeting. At the same time, we need to have sufficient support mechanisms. When young people want to pursue ideas, when they hit a barrier, when they hit a roadblock, we need to have someone there to pat them on the back and say, don't worry, don't be discouraged. But also, I would say one of the biggest barriers is the politics. It's an interesting image. I thought it was funny. But when I mentioned how is politics a barrier, there's been a lot of instances where I've seen when young people come forward with an idea, right about when it's going to be implemented or when it's going to be at a point where it can actually influence significant decision-making processes, it's reconfigured or it's changed slightly to accommodate existing agendas or existing interests. This, I think, is detrimental because this symbolically is expropriating the creative, unique ideas of a young person to accommodate to existing ideas, existing interests. And what does that fundamentally do? It's taking away that unique creativity from the young person, and it's not really theirs anymore. And I've seen this happen far too many times. And this is just one element of the politics behind that I talk about, having young people have a say, a direct say in politics and in decision-making processes. And once again, when we look at this ladder here, it's a pretty interesting diagram that breaks down 8 different steps of youth and students being incorporated in decision-making processes. Everybody wants to get to the 8th step. It says student-initiated shared decision-making with adults. How can we get there? And once again, these are barriers that exist. Everyone seems to be on board, but how can we actually do it? From my experiences, I've learned that we need to, once again, enable and respect self-autonomy. Young people have to have the complete autonomy to do what they want to do, and we have to respect it. And if we disagree with it at the same time, we have to establish that dialogue. But most importantly, we need to have appropriate mentorship and guidance. This was something that I think was very, very important in coming up to the project that I've been working on, and I want to share with you, because it's a very unique approach to how we can engage with youth and have them actively participate in society. But one of the most important bridges that we're all doing here today that happens in every single TED Talk that occurs is listening. We actually have to listen to young people. And it's interesting because I've sat in a community advisory meeting where there's a high school student, this was a month ago, who passionately said, I'm sick and tired of being told to engage, and when I do, it's pity engaging. It's people listening to what I have to say, but they never take it seriously. And it's interesting, he says, only recently in the past 5 years is when there's been a big emphasis of youth engagement, of listening to youth, having them part of a process. But it needs to be more than that. It needs to actually be shown that we really want to take their ideas and implement them. And so, this past year, I got together with my colleagues and I said, a couple of my good friends, and I was sharing with them, and they equally know how passionate I am about my ideas, about what I want to do in the political sphere. And they said, you know what? How can we incorporate this? How can we put everything together in one formula? And so from my experiences, I realized, once again, we need to have youth sharing ideas and talk with one another. Because I feel that organically, this will have them collaborating. And I do believe that younger generations are a generation of collaborators. We communicate differently than we have before, we see things differently, and we're more prone to want to collaborate with one another when we share ideas. And so I was thinking, how can we get this at a very basic micro level? And so I started thinking, in Hamilton, what we have is a really unique context. We have a city that's big enough to have a project that could be a citywide project, but at the same time, it's small enough for it to actually go through. And so we thought, how can we get this youth with youth engagement strategy? This is the appropriate mentorship guidance principle that we had. When we want to engage with adolescent youth, we feel that it needs to be a process where high school kids can speak to someone they can relate to. It can't necessarily be someone they look at as an authority figure, because in their everyday environment, for them to be uncomfortable and really share their ideas, we feel that it has to be something that they can openly speak their mind without being intimidated. When I was a high school student, whenever there was someone who was slightly in their young 20s that came to a class to do a talk, I naturally was just like, hey, what are they doing here? It was kind of just naturally intriguing. And so we thought this kind of approach of having post-secondary students engage with secondary students is a natural complementary approach that can actually work on many levels. And most importantly, the idea of keeping it simple. Have anyone here heard about the concept KISS? Keep it simple, stupid? It's a really interesting concept, and when we were talking about this project, it smacked me in the face. I was like, wow, okay, let's keep it simple. So what do? We need to have an entity. So we said, let's go to OPIRG, Ontario Public Interest Research Group, and get a working group. Got that done. And what's going to be our name? Simple. Hamilton Students Community Initiatives. Broad, vague, but simple. So what are we going to call our project? Easy. Hamilton Youth Engagement Initiative. Anyone can relate to it, anyone understands it, that's what we're gonna do. So what is our process? What are we fundamentally doing? 3 simple steps. 1, we're gonna ask high school kids, what are issues in their communities? Just say it, anything. What is issues in your communities? Number 2, prioritize them. What is your personal preference of priorities of issues in your community? And 3, what do you think are solutions to them? Very simple. We've been working on this since September, and what we're doing a pilot stage right now. We're working with 6 different high schools in the city, and McMaster students are assigned to a team, and they're allocated to a specific school, and they've been working together with these high school kids after school since October. And it's been a really, really interesting experience. A lot of the mentors, my friends, and people that have taken part in this project have come to me and said, this has really opened up my eyes. To give you an example, I am actually with a school in the heart of downtown, and Sir Johnny MacDonald. It's represented by over 70 different racial groups. It's astonishing, 70 different racial groups. And one of the problems they have there that they're realizing is that a lot of these kids tend to stick to themselves in racial groups, and there's a lot of segregation, but at the same time, there's a lot of racial hostility that's happening. And when we were discussing in a group with these kids, this 14-year-old told me, here's the problem. And once again, when we just talk and listen to these kids, they know the problems very well, and they know the solutions. He said to me, look, this is the problem, is that if we want to change a lot of this racism that they think is inherent, is that, number 1, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long-term process. It's going to take years to happen. And at the same time, we're going to have to do it in a fun way, because young people have to have fun. And I was thinking, wow, here's a 14-year-old that just identified an issue that I think most people probably haven't understood when it comes to dealing with social problems, that it's a long-term solution. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And he emphasized that with kids, it has to be something fun. It has to be something that they look at as not a chore, but something they want to naturally participate in. And there you go. He identified an issue, and he said, this is how the solution is going to happen. And a lot of my friends and colleagues that are in other schools, they've come up to me and said, I really have learned so much in this past year just by talking to these high school kids than I have in my 3 years in a classroom. And so what we're trying to do with this is, once again, what we want to do at the end of the process is formulate all of this input that we've had, and we're going to draft a report that we're going to submit to City Hall. And through this, we see this as being a stepping stone. Once again, because when we give a recommendation report, we know it's not binding, but at the same time, it's a consultation process with young people in the area. And why is this a multifaceted approach that I think will work? Well, a lot of university campuses, regardless of geography, are increasingly becoming segregated bubbles from their surrounding communities. I do feel that McMaster is an example of that, but it is working towards breaking that bubble down. And this project that I've come forward is something that I want to contribute to that effort. It's something that I want to be able to get students to go out into the community and not only engage with students so they can actually find out what's going on in Hamilton, but passions will naturally come out from this. Students will naturally find passions that they're interested in that they never found out before. And my experience is a testament to that. And that's why I wanted to share this with a lot of people. So when we talk about this youth engagement strategy, once again, it's a mutually complementary relationship. The idea of having adolescent youth interact with matured youth, we're talking around 14 to 18 years old, interacting with 18 to 23-year-olds. And at the same time, it enables creative ideas and solutions to be reinforced through life experiences. The fact that a high school kid has an idea and might want to push it forward but don't know the channels, university or college students who are in a more of, I guess, a mature political setting can show from their life experiences, this is the steps you have to take. And it's something that I think will be very natural and organic. And at the same time, once again, it provides opportunity for organic collaboration. Some of the ideas and solutions that have been brought forward from this project that we're working on is something that a lot of my friends who are taking part says, I can incorporate this into my research that I'm doing at university. And so it's something that is a mutual effect. It's something that can actually go a long way by just simple discussion. And most importantly, what I want to end this talk on is this project is rooted in self-sustainability and continuity. It's something that is always happening. I really want to emphasize the fact that when we talk about social issues, it requires a social solution. And there is no utopia. If someone can point me one, I'll be happy to want to investigate it, and I'm sure all of us want to go there. But there is no such thing as utopia. There's always room for improvement in any society that we live in or any community. And so this idea of asking young people, who I believe are experts in their surrounding environments, we just ask them openly, what are your issues? What do you think? And we have to listen to that. but not only listen to the point where we just want to give them pity and say we want to listen to what you have to say, but truly listen without any prejudice, without any form of just wanting to say, we're going to give you a little pat on the back. We really want to put them at the forefront of solutions. At the same time, this helps to overcome bubbles in campuses, like I mentioned earlier. It's something that is not explicit to a certain geography. I think that this can be implemented anywhere. And at the same time, it actually gives an opportunity for youth to really be the protagonists of bringing about societal changes and doing it in a relationship that I think is extremely natural, and that's something that's necessary. When we look at the context of Canadian society and we look at a lot of voter turnouts that are happening in the past 2 provincial elections and federal elections, they've been the lowest voter turnouts in history. And a big chunk of that has come from young voters. And so this statistic is used to demonstrate that young people are apathetic. Once again, I don't think that's the case. I think the channels have to be revitalized because youth are eager to want to bring about changes. And when we talk about university students, I think that students go to university not only, they say now it's just to secure employment opportunities, but I think it's more than that. I think students really go to university to have an experience where they can meet new people, find people that share the same passions, and really work together towards common solutions. And I really think that this can be a stepping stone as an example that we can set here in Hamilton to spread throughout the province, to spread throughout the country, and once again, throughout the world. This idea of having a youth with youth engagement strategy to finding solutions in any community is once again not explicit to a geography. This can be implemented anywhere. And this is my contribution from my university experience that I want to be able to share with everyone to show that regardless of what you think, there are people out there that want to work together with you, and if we can just establish a relationship of listening and collaborating, we can actually change the world. And the saying that think globally and act locally can never be truer. Thank you.